Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Hila here, Saturday Night Stitch, and thank you so much for tuning in to another Burda browse through. It's a little bit belated, but as my father always said, better late than never. So today we've got the January 2025 issue of Burda, which is all bright and red and sparkly and just full of life. And just very quickly before I jump into it, my garden is a little bit sparse at the moment, but currently my snowdrops have just been opening up. So I've just got a couple of snowdrops here. And wherever you are in the world, I hope that spring is awakening for you as much as it is for us here in the north of England. Okay, so we'll jump straight into it. And for those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Hila. I've been sewing with Burda for more than 10, I think nearly 14 years now, and I love the Burda magazines and I collect them. I have a huge extensive collection, and most of my garments that I sew for myself are primarily from the Burda magazines, and I love to share sewing inspiration on this channel, and doing the magazine browse through is one of those things that just gives us a lot of sewing fun. So starting off with the issue, I thought it was a nice bright issue to come through the post box. It's always a cheerful day for me when I get the Burda issue, and even better when the cover is quite uplifting and inspiring. And I liked the use of the red with the white background, and I also loved the motto at the front, which was "This will be my sewing year." And absolutely, friends, let's make 2025 our sewing year indeed. Okay, so that's one of the things that I liked about the cover. So jumping in, we've got our, let me grab the line drawings out. Got my line drawings all prepared over here. So there's a lot of repeats. This entire lower line here is repeats, which is a bit of a disappointment. However, let's just focus on the good stuff. So starting off, we have here a shirt dress that has what looks like a fly front over here. And I must say, I'm not personally a big fan of it. I don't think that things that look like fly fronts have any place on a shirt dress. However, I do like the gathering at the cuff over here, which creates a really beautiful drape. Fabric wise, they've gone with something that doesn't really show off all the extra work that you'd have to put in to create that placket. So does make you wonder, why would it be necessary? I loved this top that I saw here, number 106, or it's a dress actually, because it is very, very simple and straightforward. It's a pullover dress, although they have added buttons along the roll neckline. Made in a ponte or a stretch fabric, this is eminently practical, particularly in winter. Pick your colors, either a solid or a bright print that go really well with your boots. Wear it with tights and you are sorted. On the model, it does look a lot baggier, so I would just measure out the front pattern piece around the waistline just to check and make sure that you are going to get the fit that you would like. I love the use of the bright fabric. Let's see, what have they used? It's sweatshirt in fabric, and it's like a really bold stripe, which is quite eye-catching, particularly in winter. And then we have this long blouse here, number 117. I'm not a big fan of the sort of tie and dye abstract, soft abstract print that they have used here, which I think is quite a shame because it does have some very cute feminine details that I like. It's got a very trim neckline here, and with the gathering over there, it just makes for a really cute blouse. And with the raglan sleeve, I made a raglan sleeve blouse from last year. I think it was the March issue. It is a little bit more complex because it does have a collar, but I'm actually quite surprised by how much wear I'm getting out of the raglan sleeve shirt top with a button front. It's actually turned out to be quite a versatile top. So yeah, I do think that this has potential, and I can see this one becoming quite a popular one on the Burda community. And then for the life of me, friends, I could not make sense of top number 105, which is basically, it's a top, but then you've got the straps over at the front. make it make sense for me. This just doesn't make sense for me at all, particularly all of the faff, the work that you'd have to do to create that top, and it looks so bulky and so unnecessary, and it looks as if you've tied some straps of cloth. And in all honesty, if you wanted to achieve a similar look, just sew up some belt, thick strips of cloth, and you can just tie them over, and boom, you've got that look. So that one didn't get my vote. And we've got a really lovely practical rain jacket parka that would be made in a technical fabric. Good construction on the hoodie, because the hoodie is a 3-piece hoodie. From previous makes, I have come to the conclusion, the realization that if you are going to make a hoodie, it's worth taking the time to redraft it into a 3-part hoodie rather than just using the 2-part. It looks so much better when it's a three-piece hoodie. Lovely. And then we've got ruching. Seems to be quite a big feature over the last couple of months, and going forward it looks like it is a feature trend. So here, this top, this sweater top, it's just got a lot of ruching, and obviously you need to be using something that's very lightweight to go with this. And I think that this can suit a particular type. Unfortunately for me, I can't quite carry off ruching, and that's because I've got really broad shoulders and angularity. So when you add in the soft drape that you get with the ruching, there's a lot of fighting, and it just doesn't quite sit well. But I've seen it look lovely on some people, and it's just like, oh, but I can't carry it off. And then we've got some red trousers here. Very simple hip yoke with a contoured waist. You can never go wrong with wide leg trousers. Honestly, they're a great staple for a capsule wardrobe. And then we have a very interesting top here, which has got some 60s style lines. So a slightly drop waist over here, and the combination of a princess seam with an armhole dart in order to get the shaping. And then you've got that little petite funnel neckline. It's got a zipper at the back and a zipper at the side. This is too many zippers for me, and it looks like they've made it in a stretch polyester fabric, so that's going to be a lot of work to try and get it just right. So kudos to the person that made the samples for this photo shoot. I personally would be going for something a little bit more solid, like a ponte, or maybe using a wool jersey and then skipping the zippers all together, and then just sort of struggle through, pushing through, because the amount of stabilizing that you need to do in order for your zipper to not waver or to pucker is quite a lot. And then we've got the oversized cardigan look, which is also cropped, and I don't know about you friends, but I am ready to see this trend go away, but it doesn't seem to be going away. I do like an oversized cardigan. I once made one from a November 2020 issue, and I love it. I'm still wearing that cardigan to bits, but it is nice and long and it's cozy. I just do not get the logic of having a cardigan that you would make in a heavyweight fabric, and then you make it cropped so that it's only keeping you warm just up to your waist. I don't get it, but perhaps I'm not the target audience for that particular design. Okay, and then that 60s style top has been made into a dress over here, and they've added a skirt portion which has a center front seam. And somehow for me, this design line, it doesn't quite add up. It doesn't quite work as well. I think it would be more aesthetically pleasing if they'd made the skirt have 3 panels, so that you sort of have this continuation of this princess seam line over here, and not have this one. But that's just me, and it's very hard for me to tell what the fit is supposed to be like, because they've gone for one of those, I call them astigmatism fabrics. They probably are not called that, but there might be a different name for them, and if it is, do let me know in the comments box down below. But it's that 60s sort of optic design that just makes you think that you are either super dizzy and about to pass out, maybe because pregnancy hormones are getting to you, because that's the last time I remember seeing my reality go woozy like that, you know, or maybe it's the very first time that you ever got really drunk and things are just mixing up. And so I don't quite like the fabric that they have chosen. The dress itself has got some really lovely, interesting design lines that are completely lost in the busy fabric. So yeah, and I do think it sometimes seems a little bit fussy to think about that, but with the sewing magazines, you're not just selling the pattern itself, you're also selling the inspiration, the desire to pick up the pattern, do the tracing, and sew it up. And so you have to try and sell the pattern in the best way possible. So moving on, we've got the standard Burda sweater, shirt, dress. The only difference is it's been made in a really nice green fabric. I do like this fabric very much. I think it's quite vibrant and it's very deep as well. I was like, yeah, where did they get this from? It's listed as a tweed fabric. So I don't know. And then there was this one, which is I think the teens sort of section. And there's some lovely detailing that you can see in this pattern. You've got sort of a trim over there and some cute little floral buttons. So all lovely. And I have to say that with this particular style, for me, two things. Not a big fan of the skirt in and of itself. I think it would have looked so much nicer if it was just a little bit longer, and perhaps not have this jagged asymmetrical skirt portion here. And that's because they've gone for a very circular, a really lovely classic rounded neckline over here, and then you sort of have this straight line. It's a bit jarring for me, but lovely fabric that they have used here. They've used a tweed, so tweed is very much in vogue in this particular issue. Okay, we've got another cropped cardigan in a really lovely thick fabric. However, the fabric doesn't extend to keep you warm for the rest of your body. And then the top with the fly front placket. I don't know what it's called, but I think that's what I'm seeing when I look at it. And it's been made in this a quite lovely winter style fabric. So the colors on this fabric, it reminds me of the succulent plants, the ones that have the lovely purple tips. So I think that's a beautiful cool tone fabric, and I like that about it. And despite the fact that it's got this fly front section here, which is so unnecessary because you can't even see it. You can't see it. This just looks like a normal blouse that just has a placket, a concealed placket, but it's very knit. It's very, very trim, and I do like that about it. So I wasn't too keen on it when I saw it in the dress, but in the top, I thought that this could be worked maybe with a viscose, a rayon chalice. It could work. Maybe even at a push, a tanalon could work with it. So I'm curious to see what people will do with this one within the Burda sewing community. And then we've got another variation on the twins dress, but except for this time it's been made into a pinafore. And I think as a pinafore dress, it does work so much better. And interestingly enough, they've styled it with tights and some boots. And I'd have loved to see this with a bit more edge to it, since they've chosen a black and white tweed fabric. And the asymmetrical hem, the way that it's cut, is very sort of edgy, but at the same time they're trying to mix in elements of classic. And I think that they could have really gone all in and made these like proper emo boots, and that would have just made it chef's kiss. But I definitely prefer it more as the pinafore than as the dress, because there isn't that much of a jarring incongruence between a circular classic neckline and then the jagged edge. So that was that. And then over here we have a mini skirt, which is asymmetrical with some buttons over there and a frayed edge. And then we have the second thing that I thought was quite cool in this issue. Hang on, let's just get past the patterns. Is this jacket, which is the cropped jacket, and it's a Chanel style cropped jacket, but they've added a touch of modernity to it because it's been given the collegiate jacket collar. Can you see that there's a lovely little trim collar that's been added on there? So quite interesting. And it's interesting that they're showing this styled with a relatively thick cardigan underneath. So this tells me that this jacket has got a lot of ease to it. And then we've got the banana pants, and they're banana because they're sort of like shaped a little bit like a banana over here. And there's a lot of contrasting details because the bottom section has got two whole bits to go. Frankly speaking, there is a better version of these pants. I think it's in the February 20 21 or 22 issue. They've got some really nice ones that instead of this being a straight seam, it's sort of angled, which I think is much more flattering. And then, oh my days, please take away the platform boots. I don't want that fashion back. Who else remembers platform boots? Okay, and then we've got a dress here. So it's very, on the face of it, it looks like a very simple sweater dress, but it is not. Why is it not a simple sweater dress? It's because we have zippers on the cuffs. Friends, make it make sense for me. Zippers on the cuffs. This is one trend I can't get behind. I don't understand it at all. Let's stick with buttons. Buttons for the cuffs would be really nice. So I'm all for everything except for those zippered cuffs over there. Right, item number 3 that also caught my eye that I thought would be quite useful in my wardrobe that I'm most likely to actually make is this hooded top. So very simple. What I like about the hoodie itself is that it's got a slightly high neckline on here, so it doesn't just go, the hooded section that's open doesn't just go straight into here. So I do quite like that. And then it's got the thumb holes, so the sleeve is extra long so that it keeps you extra warm. And I like this. This is a great casual cut that brings comfort into everyday life, as they say. So I think that this suits what they promise here, comfort in your everyday life. These zippered cuffs, no, they don't do that. Okay, and then we've got a jacket, a bomber jacket in very shiny metallic material, which seems to be a thing that's popping up a lot more of. Very practical pockets, nice and deep. You'd need a technical fabric to make this, like one of those quilted fabrics. Okay, and then we've got another great, they've called it the cuddly skirt. And that's so sweet because it's made in a corduroy. And of course, corduroy is quite cuddly, especially little ones. They really love cuddling up to corduroy. And it's a very simple and straightforward skirt with a center front seam and some hip yoke pockets and elasticated waist. And I know why they've covered over this elasticated waist with this sweater. That's because thick corduroy like this, when you put elastic in it, it just gets really bulky and thick. But if you're just going to style it like this, then it does work very well. And then we've got a casual jacket with a hood that's been made in a really lovely wool fabric with a window pane pattern. Some nice slanted pockets over here. You can almost see that this is a similar pattern that you'd use for making those rain jackets, the yellow rain jackets, but this time they've just made it a bit more interesting by using a wool blend fabric, and it's got a zipper. So quite practical and quite simple. It doesn't have a lot of unnecessary detail, and you can see with the hoodie they've actually added a zipper on the hoodie, which, whoo, you know, I have thick hair, and this is just making me, it's giving me pause for thought, friends. Is this something that you guys would be comfortable with? Let me know in the comments down below. Would you be happy with having a zipper in such close proximity to your hair? You have to zip it up and unzip it with your hair unruly like that. Interesting. If I were to make it, I would not be putting a zipper on the hoodie. Never mind the fact that you don't want a zipper pull to just be dangling over your head over here. So that's, you know, just a small little point on there. Okay, and then this is the repeated fashion. So we've got the blazer, and then we've got this here. So the only one that I'm going to talk about in this repeated fashion is dress number 127, because I actually made this dress. I really liked the design lines on this dress, and I made it in a viscose jersey, and I will include some pictures to show you. And I made it in a fabric that, unfortunately, in hindsight now, it was outside my colors, which explained why I never quite felt as cute as I thought I would in it. So one of it was to do with the colors. It was entirely not inside my color tone. And then the other problem was that actually a viscose jersey is quite a thick and drapey fabric. And the way that this is designed, actually, because of the longer length of the dress, everything just sort of drops down. So it's quite So it constantly felt like I had to be pulling it up. So the neckline constantly would be dropping down. So I think it's a lovely design, but I don't think it works as well with jerseys. I think it does need to be made in something that is more stable, like a ponte fabric. But if I made it in a ponte fabric, I'd be adding belts here. Let's see if I got the line. I would be adding belts here, yep, so that I could tie it and secure it around the waistline. That way the skirt portion isn't dragging this bit down. So it needs something that is a more structured fabric. So here they don't say exactly what type of jersey they used. I suspect it's a silk jersey, which is possibly a bit lighter, but you'd still have the same dragging issue. So that's the only one that I wanted to mention in the repeated section. But all of this, oh yeah, and then top number 1, 2, 3, I did make a top. I made this actually. I did make this, and it didn't look that great on me. I used 2 different types of fabric for this when it first came out. I used a gray lightweight jersey fabric, and then I used it was like a scuba with a fancy print on it, and again, it didn't work. But what I didn't realize at the time actually is that, this ruching, it doesn't work for me. And consistently, when I look at my past sewing projects over the last decade and a half or so, the ruching did not work. But now I understand why, because of understanding the key BID systems, etc. And so that saved me, a lot of time and grief by understanding what actually works well with my body. But that's a video for another day. So friends, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you've watched until the end, know that I really appreciate you. I am so glad to be back to doing these, and I'll explain in another video. I've just had a lot going on and a big thing that I've been working on, and now that's out of the way, so everything can go back to normal. So it's just so wonderful, and I'm so excited to make this my sewing year as well. And yeah, let's do this together. So until I see you next time, lovelies, why don't you let me know in the comments box if you're going to be making anything from this issue, or have you made anything from their repeated issues before. And until I see you next time, happy sewing, everybody. Bye.